Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Greer, CEO of Secure Content Technologies, and I'm really honored to be here today with Victor Cotorobai from ESET. Did I get that right? Am I close just a little bit?
Yes.
So thank you for joining me today, Victor. I'm looking forward to our discussion about ESET, AI, and a lot of other topics. I think we've got a good lineup for the audience today.
Excellent. I'm happy to be here.
So I've been working with ESET for quite a number of years, and I still run across people that say, I've never heard of ESET, or isn't that just a home user solution, or something to along those lines. And we both know that ESET is much more than that, and has a very notable name in the industry. So can you dive into that for a little bit and kind of tell us what your thoughts are and where ESET sits in the market?
Definitely, yeah, great question and a good starting of this conversation, right? So, yeah, ESA has spent more than 30 years building security the hard way through research, not marketing. Maybe that's the reason probably a lot of people haven't heard of ESET. But I want to say that long before cybersecurity was a buzzword, the company was founded by malware researchers who were obsessed with understanding threats at their core, and their mindset never changed. Even today, ESET's in-house threat labs, proprietary detection engines, and global intelligence give it visibility into emerging attacks long before they hit the mainstream news. Whenever I talk about ESET now, and that it's protecting over 2 billion devices worldwide, I always think back when I was a teenager in the early 2000s. The internet back then, it felt like Wild West. You download music from the sketchy sites, swap files on USB sticks, click on things you absolutely shouldn't, and just hope your computer didn't crumble. For me, it was, back then it was ESET not 32 that quietly kept everything from falling apart. It wasn't loud, it wasn't intrusive, it didn't bug down my computer, and it just worked. So it cut infected files. A friend was trying to pass them around. I didn't realize it at that time, but that quiet reliability shaped how I thought about security long before I actually entered this industry. And the funny thing is that the story isn't just mine. There are millions of people who grew up with ESET at home. They trusted it for years and eventually carried that trust into their professional lives. You see it all the time. Someone becomes an IT lead or joins a security team and says, we used ESET at home and it just worked. Then that familiarity, the confidence follows them straight into enterprise, and they're able to bring that solution over.
That's a great story, and I do remember Nod 32, and I'm sure a lot of people do. That term will probably never go away all the way. So, from where you sit at ESET, what are you seeing in the threat landscape right now that perhaps most businesses might not be paying enough attention to?
Yeah, when people ask me about what I'm seeing in the threat landscape, I usually start telling them that it feels like we're watching the ground shift under our feet in real time. From where I sit here at ESET, the biggest changes isn't just more attacks, as we probably would hear a lot more, but it's how they're being built. We're watching a surge in AI-assisted malware generation. New campaigns are popping up faster than before, and overall expansion in both scope and scale. And a lot of that, it's thanks to generative AI tools that streamline the attacker's workflow. One misconception, though, we hear all the time is that AI is out there inventing brand new families from scratch. Thankfully, we're not seeing that level of autonomy yet. Human operators still have to steer the ship. But what AI is doing is removing the tedious part, like debugging, optimizing code, rewriting libraries into new languages, and all that work, it's used to slow attackers down. Now it's automated, right? The next big shift is the attack success rate. And honestly, this is where AI has made the biggest impact. The language models that help write emails as the ones adversaries used to craft phishing, spear phishing, business email compromise messages. It looks, frighteningly legitimate. Gone are those days of Prince of Nigeria emails. Today's they were written like those emails. Looks like they were written by a CFO because tools like ChatGPT and its darker cousins, FraudGPT and WormGPT, make that effortless. And another trend we also see that worries us is the barrier to entry is dropping. Even if AI can't write full novel malware yet, it gives mid-level adversaries to the kind of capabilities that used to require real expertise. So now we're seeing new players into the space. And also, it's important to notice that AI is reshaping public perception too, right? It used to take a lot of resources to create new malware. Now it's you can see it on social media where people skim headlines and glance at images. They're dangerous. And studies show that people only detect fake images about 60% of the time. And just knowing this stat already tells us like we're so vulnerable at identifying it. And what we normally recommend is to stay ahead of those threats. It's crucial to use defense in depth and implement multi-layered security approach. Here at ESET, we are at endpoint alone, we're using 17 core technologies that allow to deliver that top-tier malware and exploit prevention at every stage of attack. So we leverage those 17 core technologies to stop a lot of the threats at every stage, pretty much.
So that's the 17 layers hook that I've seen and heard you speak about, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really. So what do you think? Why do you think it matters about the 17 layers when someone is looking at evaluating a new endpoint protection?
Yeah, one thing we believe very strongly here at ESET is that more layers equal more protection, right? And the best part of it never comes at the cost of performance. I normally say if ESET had a middle name, honestly, it would be lightweight. That's always been kind of part of the ESET DNA. And what makes it possible, it's ESET LifeSense. It's ESET's multi-layered engine. And the way I like to think of it, it's like a security team made up of specialists. For example, you would have machine learning, behavioral-based detection, advanced DNA signature, cloud reputation, and behind all of it, it's the real human researchers who constantly refine the system. And that's pretty much the secret sauce that ESET stops threats at every stage of attack. And kind of trying to structure it a little bit. So before anything, for example, the pre-execution, right? We run technologies like advanced machine learning, network attack protection, UEFI scanning, and that helps to stop threats before they get a foothold. If something does execute, we've got another set of layers waiting, such as like ransomware shield, ransomware remediation, advanced memory scanner, exploit prevention. And these are technology that catch stuff that slip past everyone else. And even after execution, we're still not done. There's botnet protection, there's live grid, which is a reputational database. This post-execution layer help to watch anything trying to call home or to behave suspiciously. And one of my favorite pieces of this stack is the DNA detections. Our research realized that years ago that malware authors that were obfuscating code so heavily that traditional signatures weren't enough. So they built a system that look for the genes of malicious behavior. They look for how that the code that could be obfuscated, right? So they were able to catch brand new malware and even the completely unseen malware, which also the LiveGuard Advanced, which is our cloud sandbox, comes into play. And if something looks suspicious, we don't guess, right? We don't want to do that. We want to take that sample, detonate in an isolated environment at ESET HQ, and it goes a lot into it. It goes through multiple layers of static and dynamic analysis. We check reputational data. We apply threat intelligence feeds. And most samples are analyzed within 5 minutes. So once we confirm something is malicious, then every endpoint in your environment is protected within minutes. So really to kind of conclude all the 17 layers and all in a way, when we mean that, we don't mean a few features stitched together. We mean like a full ecosystem, pre-execution, execution, and post-execution. So all together, they're helping to stop the threats.
Amazing. So There's a whole lot of small businesses or even somewhat larger businesses that have small IT teams these days. I've got some customers that have 500, 1,000 employees, and they have two. They have two IT people for that whole team. And I feel like MDR is becoming more and more important in the security stack for companies of all sizes. Do you feel that's the case? And how does ESET MDR play in that space?
Yeah, we hear it all the time from customers. Like we only have one or two IT people. MDR sounds like something only big enterprises need.
Mhm.
But I can tell a quick story about like how that can flip, right? We were working with a small organization. There were two IT admins, both wearing 10 different hats. Then one morning, ESET MDR reached out to them about suspicious activity that happened overnight. Felt like it was nothing dramatic, nothing that would trigger traditional antivirus alert. But there were a few PowerShell. There were like a pattern of PowerShell commands and credentials that didn't match their normal behavior. So this is where the size of the team matter, right? With only two people, there was no chance you'd catch it in real time. The team, they were asleep, they were busy, or they probably doing other things. But with the SOC analysts, they would be watching. They dug in, they confirmed it was malicious, they contained the activity before the customer even logged in for the day. And when the admins arrived at work, they didn't have any crisis, right? They had a report, they had a clear steps, like along with how the threat evolved, what's the resolution, and if there were any recommendations. So MDR is not for enterprise. It's for the teams that can afford to miss something, right? So the way we like to think is that MDR becomes the SOC. It's the night shift, the weekend shift. It's for the teams that are already juggling 5 tickets or more at the same time, right? So it's about having someone watching when you can't and making sure if you missed an alert, it doesn't become the worst day of their career.
Mhm. Well, one topic that you kind of briefly touched on, but I'd like to before we end, I'd like to talk about AI just a little bit more now because it's everywhere, and you can't go through a day without having a discussion in cyber about AI and what it's bringing to the table. But I know ESET is doing a lot to stay ahead of the AI threats. And I'd love to hear you talk about that and talk about what businesses should be doing today as they continue down this journey of AI.
Yeah, you said it right. I mean, AI is everywhere right now. The attacker are using it just as fast as businesses are as well. So it's a double-edged sword in a way. At ESA, we were staying ahead by doing the research and seeing those threats before they hit the mainstream. We've actually been utilizing AI since the late 90s. But now we're trying to kind of work on more anticipating to stay ahead of the game. So, and with that, our team discovered the first AI-powered ransomware, which it was proven that it could scan a system, exfiltrate data, and encrypt files while adapting on the fly. And more recently, ESA researchers also uncovered the Prompt Spy, which is the first Android malware abusing Gemini AI that would be used to analyze the screen, block uninstallation, capture lock screen data, record video, and even deploy full module for remote control. So we see a lot on the research side. There's a big investment there, but also building protections directly into the tools businesses use. At RSA this year, we previewed new AI security features that scan both prompts and responses to prevent data leakage and block malicious content generated by the LLMs. We're adding the browser level defenses to stop harmful scripts and prevent employees from uploading sensitive data into public AI systems, which we probably see that inadvertently people are using ChatGPT to maybe articulate some emails and then unwillingly they may disclose some customer information where also they could be some proprietary information they could be sending to the ChatGPT, right? So we're working on securing that, and we're using personal AI assistants to, we actually wanted to mention about the free AI skills, which is now part of the ESET endpoint, but it's also available to the community, where they can perform an AI skill checker to detect risky or malicious AI behavior before deployment. So that's another layer there. And to the question, what should businesses do, right? It's to put guardrails around AI use, adopt security tools that understand AI-driven behavior, and really educate the users. I feel like, that's the one vector that we always have to be very careful to educate our users to, and there's many ways we can do that, right? We can do it through the learning modules and gamified versions, and we also can enroll them in the phishing simulation tests.
Awesome. So I think we've covered a lot of really important topics and areas and differentiators and things that ESET does to stay really at the top of the cybersecurity game. Are there big takeaways from this recording that you'd like some of our listeners to take with them, along with just to tell our listeners, if you would like more information, reach out to me directly. But Victor, I'd love to hear your big takeaways because you're the man of the hour here.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I'll like to conclude it all, let's say it's I would say, like, look for what's running in your environment that shouldn't be, not malware. That's the easy part, as maybe a funny way that can be, but the legitimate tools the attackers use to stay invisible, right? Check on PowerShell scripts, remote access tools, server accounts that nobody remembers creating. That's where modern breaches hide. Attackers live often land. They blend into the normal admin activity, and they move laterally without ever dropping a malicious file. If you don't have visibility to that behavior, then you're flying blind. So the first step is simple: audit your privileged accounts and remote execution tools. Make sure every credentials, every script, every scheduled task has a real owner. If it doesn't, disable it. That's one action that closes more doors for attackers than most people realize. But here's the bigger picture. There is no silver bullet in cybersecurity. I like one quote: "If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together." Right? It's more of a culture. Cybersecurity has to be a culture from the CEO all the way down, because the number of one attackers still credential phishing, but still got to take care of the basics, like least privilege access, patching, backups, remove unused accounts and tools, train your users, your gatekeepers, educate them and test them regularly. And understand that prevention is essential, but it's not enough. To deal with modern, more evasive threats, you need to have EDR and MDR tools at your disposal. They block the common attacks automatically, but with those tools, you can investigate and respond to more advanced threats. And they give you that extra layer for security.
That was a great summary. Thank you for that. So to everyone listening, stay tuned for more of these discussions with Victor and I. We've got a lot more topics that we're wanting to bring to the table to educate and inspire thoughts from all of us as we continue down our journey. Victor, thank you for your time.
I think I might have lost you.
Oh, no.
I don't hear you. Okay.
It's okay. I'll finish here. Thank you to our listeners. Victor, we'll talk again soon.